An unusual thought once came to me. If a Palestinian and an Israeli settler are in a course together, let's say a photography course, but nobody sees them, did it happen? Before I answer, if there even is an answer, allow me to backtrack a bit. There are many reasons why I take pictures. Preserving memories, naturally. Preserving moments. It sounds the same, but it's actually different. Think about it. There are other reasons. A photo can be a window to another world, another time, another place. It can elicit the full range of feelings: calm, joy, pride, anger, frustration, sorrow. Photos are an incredible tool. For me, moving to photography was actually a natural progression. To explain, let me just backtrack a little bit more. When I moved to Israel with my family during the intense period of the Second Intifada and to a settlement, I realized that what we were doing was something more than just about ourselves, and it was selfish to keep it to ourselves. So I wrote about it. I wrote emails. It was a long time ago, before blogs. I wrote nearly every day, sometimes more than once a day. The writing was cathartic, of course, but my writing was to give people back home some insight into why we made Aliyah and what was so wonderful despite the turmoil of living in Judea, or the so-called West Bank, in that turbulent and sometimes frightening time. People cared. My family, of course, my friends, but also my friends' friends, and total strangers. They wanted to know more, to understand our life, to understand why we moved, to understand the complicated place that is Israel, and why we love it so much. So I added them to my email list. I told people about life in Israel. I told them about life in the territories. I told them about the challenges, and I told them about the joys. I told them about the devastation, like when people I knew, were murdered by terrorists. I told them about the challenges, about the terror attacks, about the struggles between Arab and Jew, but also between religious and secular, left and right, and so much more. I told them about the many complications that exist here, for so many reasons, and with no easy solutions. And of course, I told them about the beauty, the incredible beauty of our land and the people within it. And slowly, I began a subtle, ever so subtle shift towards using photographs. More often than not, the things that I photograph are things that beg me to photograph them. And they're often fleeting, something that's now or never, like a rainbow in the Jerusalem morning, or a tender moment between a parent and child, or that first time that somebody reaches the Western Wall, or a reflection in the moon in a rare Jerusalem puddle. I'll stop doing nearly everything. I'll pull over my car, stop a meeting even, and say, I'm sorry, I just have to take that picture. It's now or never. But I did have a big learning curve in getting involved in photography because I actually had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even have a proper camera, but I had my eyes and my heart. And in fact, they are still my best tools when I photograph, because it's what I see that touches my heart that I seek to preserve and share with others. I use my photography to open a virtual portal to a world that might otherwise be inaccessible to many. That world is the Israel that I see through my eyes, the eyes of deep appreciation, the eyes of wonder, the eyes of a settler, not a stereotypical settler in any way, but a settler nonetheless. Finally, and most important to me, I see Israel through eyes that are open. I can see value in opinions of those I disagree with. I don't see things in Israel as black and white, but many shades of gray and color, so much color. Let people decide for themselves what they see. I can only present it to them. Of course, it's also true that I live at 1,000 meters above sea level, and I see Israel with a view that is unparalleled. It would be a crime not to photograph what I see, and not to share it with anyone who cares to look. The turning point for me was when I was asked to submit my photos for the beautiful Passage to Israel collection. I realized that what I was doing was actually important. Not unique to me, of course, but for us here in Israel to take the opportunity to share our views, both the physical ones through our windows and the ideas and perspectives that we have, and offer others a fresh outlook, a way to see something that perhaps they hadn't thought of, a springboard for a conversation. This is huge. We can't take such platforms for granted. My own unique perspective is influenced from more than just what I personally see or think. I have friends who are right-wing and left-wing, Haredi and secular, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, Israeli Arabs, and Palestinians. Many of my friends are also open-minded and see the possibilities. We are not afraid to hear each other, and we are not afraid to be wrong. I'm not naive. I see the many conflicts in Israel, but my eyes are open to the many possible solutions. I realized more and more that so many have preconceived notions about Israel, about the conflict, and are afraid to see differently. I use my writing and my photos in my own little way to open people's minds and hearts. And I always have my own eyes open to other opportunities as well. One day, such an opportunity presented itself in the form of a unique photography course. The course was sponsored by a grassroots initiative led by Palestinians and Israelis who seek to foster understanding and coexistence. The 4-day class was being given by a world-class photographer right in the heart of Gush Etzion, where I live, and it was being given to local women. By local, I mean the Jewish Israeli settlers of Gush Etzion and the Palestinian Arabs in the neighboring villages, together, and the class was free. Now, depending on where you sit when you hear all this, you may react to such a class in a number of different ways, from horrified to delighted to why is this even an issue? Now, while Israel is a very mixed society with Arabs and Jews and a healthy sprinkling of others, sharing parks, stores, universities, in some places even neighborhoods, because I live across that most irritating invisible lines marking the area known as Judea, the West Bank, depending on your perspective, society mixing is somewhat more tenuous here. My own reaction to the opportunity was, cool. After all, I love photography, I love learning new skills, I love things that are free, and I was truly intrigued by the idea of having an opportunity to interact, to really interact with local Arabs. Others in my community were more skeptical, or even downright opposed. Some were concerned about security, while others were against it for ideological reasons. And honestly, their objections weren't irrational or unreasonable. Of course, no one has ever accused me of being rational or reasonable, so I signed up for the course. I arrived the first day with absolutely no idea what to expect. I admit I was excited and nervous. I had so many questions in my mind. Would the Arabs be friendly? Would the cultural barrier be too much? What about language? Would they speak English or Hebrew? Would we be able to communicate at all? I was left wondering, unfortunately, because aside from the teacher, only Israeli women showed up that first day. With this note of disappointment, the class began. The teacher showed us the basics. We all got cameras to use with money that she had purchased, but there were only Israelis, so basically it was a nice class, it was fun, but there was no coexistence at all. But on the second day, they came, and it actually went well. There was, of course, little communication because the language barrier was real, but there was no human barrier. We were together. We photographed each other. It was really, really fun. The Palestinian women were traditionally dressed. Some of them wore hijabs. Others were wearing just regular secular clothes and didn't look any different from any other secular Israeli. But so basically, we just kind of mixed, and we really, really had fun. And for me, I mean, I was accumulating all these pictures. I mean, I could never get pictures like this except maybe on the street, and I probably wouldn't do it on the street because I'm, believe it or not, kind of shy. And the idea of having this opportunity where we're all together and it's my assignment to take these pictures, I was over the moon. I was so happy. As I photographed, I was imagining the article that I would write about the possibilities of coexistence and cooperation and everything. Maybe it would be a photo essay. Maybe it would even be translated into Arabic. I was really, really excited. Unfortunately, on the third day, again, the Arab women didn't show up. We were very disappointed to discover that one of them was actually paid to make sure the other ones came. The Israelis were really very enthusiastic about coming, and clearly on the Arab side it was not the same. But we all came again on the last day, and the women were all there and on time. We took a little field trip. We went to a vineyard, and it was actually really, really nice. We took some beautiful pictures. It was outdoors and fun. And I was starting to get really excited about my article. I was thinking, I'm going to barely have to write anything because I have all these wonderful pictures. And the pictures themselves will tell the story. So I was talking to one of the Arab women through an interpreter and explained my plan about the article. And she was like, you can't do that. And I said, what do you mean I can't do that? She said, you can't publish any of these pictures. I was completely shocked. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do with these pictures? Why did we do this course? I mean, why don't you see things the way I see it? I mean, this is something that's incredible, and we have an opportunity to bring this to so many other people. It didn't make any sense to me at all. I was shocked and really, really upset. And then I was thinking, like, what about the Arab women? Couldn't they understand that this is such an opportunity? Why would we waste it? I really pushed the issue because I don't like taking no for an answer, and I just had this plan, and how can I just chuck it? And what I found out was that they were genuinely afraid. Some even for their very lives, should anyone in their communities find out. It was actually kind of ironic that the Jews were afraid to attend the course for fear of getting hurt there, while the Arabs were afraid to attend the course for fear of getting hurt at home. Now, I can vouch for the feeling of safety and comfort felt during the class. Unfortunately, no one can vouch for the safety and comfort of the Arab women who participated if they were to go public in their communities. Of course, none of them were willing to chance it. Was the class a success? I guess it depends upon your barometer. There was a sincere feeling of trust among the dozen or so of us. On the other hand, it felt artificial and like a dead end. What is the point of an experiment of coexistence if it cannot be shared? If an Arab and a Jew coexist in a photography class and nobody sees them, did it happen? Even I'm not sure, and I was there. Maybe it's just the beginning. Maybe it has to start slowly. In fact, I'm sure it does. There are possibilities. We do live side by side. We shop in the same stores and occasionally take secret photography classes together. And I know other efforts exist as well. We are too well aware of the domino effect of terrorism. Now, I'm not suggesting that these small efforts can eradicate terrorism, but perhaps it's possible to have a domino effect of coexistence as well. None of us are going anywhere. Somehow we have to live with each other. We need to start somewhere. Perhaps just a few people on both sides can start small. The key is that they can't just coexist. They need the courage to tell the world. We need to use the tools at our disposal, whatever they are. This is just one more thing that through my photography and my writing and my speaking, that I'm telling the world and hoping in my own little way to make a difference. Thank you.